Hey guys. Well, we're here today to see if we could run our Ninja Foodi off our Goal Zero Yeti 1000. I think this Ninja Foodi is a 5-quart, and today we're going to make a rump roast, which is about 45 minutes to cook on high pressure. So if we go over to the Goal Zero, you can see right here, we don't have any watt hours yet. I just reset the unit. Battery's sitting at 93%. And what we're going to go ahead and do is just plug this in. Very tight fit. Cord's a small cord on this Ninja. Go ahead and turn on the 120 volt outlet. And then we're going to come over here, and I already put a quart of water. Sometimes I use this tray, sometimes I don't. I find out when I don't use it, the bottom of the meat tends to look just a little bit different than the rest. The meat's cooked, but it just looks a little different. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is put the meat in. I'm just gonna grab it with my hand. Put the meat in the pot. Now we're gonna take the lid, Ninja, put it on. Hopefully I got it on right. Just gonna make sure the vent's closed. And we're gonna go over here and hopefully it powers on. So we're gonna go ahead and hit the power button. So it's gonna ask us what we wanna do. We're gonna say pressure. You get two choices, a low or a high. We're gonna put it on high. And over here, we get the time. We're gonna set this to 45 minutes. And then what we're going to do is notice, I'm just going to switch the units to, so you can kind of see it's using 0.4 amps. You can see it's actually using 5 watts right there. So what I was curious to see is how many watts it uses. And I realized that once it gets up to pressure, it's probably going to use less wattage. But what we're going to be able to see is what it uses as far as watt hours over the whole 45 minutes. So it's a little after, quarter after 4. We're gonna go ahead and hit the start button for 45 minutes. And what it does here is it warms up, starts to build pressure. So it doesn't start counting down the 45 minutes till it's up to pressure. And once it does that, that will stop, and then you'll see 45, and then it counts down. So let's go back over here. But anyway, you can see we are using 1100 watts, which is quite a bit of watts, while it's building up that pressure over here. So some units, one of the reasons I got this Goal Zero is because some units do not go over 1,000 watts. Some of these power banks. Some of the newer ones, most all the newer ones do, but some of the older, I think it's the older Jackeries, they would only go up to 1,000 watts. Some of them didn't even go that high. So one thing I liked about the Goal Zero is I believe it'll go up to 1,500 watts, which is almost close to what a full house outlet gets you. A full house outlet, I think, can actually get you 1,800 watts. And just wanted to call that out. So this, again, this whole thing's only 45 minutes. So I'm sure I'll have a decent amount of battery left because this isn't going to run at 1100 watts the entire time. This is probably correct. That 100 amps is probably running at the 11. Now it does make sense. So if you look at the volts, so that is correct. So the Goal Zero is, the battery is 11 volts. So it is 11 volt at 100 amps. It's just not showing you what the amperage would be at the 120 volt side. You know, because I am plugging in 120, so that actually is correct. So at the end of the day, the math works out the same. What we really care about is the current running watts and how many watt hours it's actually using. So we'll just leave it on watts. Now again, this is still building up. Just looking to see if I can feel it getting warm. So here we are on the watch. And I was suspecting probably about 5 minutes or so it's going to be up to temperature, and that should drop down. So we'll cut back in once this builds up and the countdown starts. Okay, I just came back in and it was off, and then I heard it kick on, and then it shut off again. So it seems like it only stayed on enough to keep it up to temperature, and then it shut right back off again. So I was curious how long it was going to stay on the high output, but it clicked on maybe 10 seconds and then came back off. So we'll see if we can catch another cycle. But you can see over here we got 36 minutes left. So about 9 minutes, I guess, has gone by. Just going to keep it on here till it cycles. Okay, there you go. So you can see it cycle on. So it's using almost 1200 watts. And then it cycles off. So I think we'll be fine at that. You know, it's got 35 minutes left. We got 77% of our battery left. If it was running a steady 1200 watts for 45 minutes, I'd say we'd be cutting it close. Because the battery to start, I think, only had 93%. It didn't have a full 100%. But again, we'll cut back in as it gets a little closer to finishing up, and we'll see how many. I guess we should check the total watt hours. So you can see right there, we've only used 142 watt hours in about 10 minutes. So even if we just took 142 and times that was 10 minutes, so we times that by 4.5, whatever that is. That would tell us probably about how much we're going to end up using. Okay, 10 minutes left. The roast is smelling pretty good. And the Ninja is not calling for heat at this moment. Doesn't mean in a second it won't. It will be. But anyway, let's check out the watt hours. So you can see we've only used 203 watt hours. We have 70% of our battery left. And we'll just set it back to watts. So this is, okay, it just kicked on again just to show you. So it's 9:30, 9:29. And it's using about 1200 watts. But one thing this could be used for is if you are camping and you decided to make a meal and you wanted to use your pressure cooker. I think these go by several names, the Ninjas, the Instapots, there's just so many of them out there. But if you wanted to cook a meal, and there's a lot of meals you can make in this, so you could start your meal if you're out camping or whatever, as long as you have a suitable battery, or you could have an inverter even go into your car, as long as you had like a 1500 watt inverter. Wouldn't recommend that though, as it uses quite the number of watts, even though it's for a short amount of time. Might not be good on your car's battery and inverter. I'm sorry, your car's battery and its alternator. But that's why these battery banks are almost invaluable. And again, I've used 200 watts, got 8 minutes left, so I'm going to guess it's probably going to fall somewhere around 250, 300 watts total. And I still got a good amount of battery left. And again, this is the Yeti Lithium Goal Zero 1000. It's kind of hidden underneath there, but it is a 1000. And these things are beautiful because they can be charged by solar. They could be charged by the house outlet. They could also be charged by your car, cigarette port. So very versatile way of charging these units, especially if you're out in the field or you're out camping or something and you don't have 120 volt house outlet somewhere. So again, the whole purpose of this was to see how many watts it used to cook an average meal, and we'll be there in 7 minutes. Okay guys, we are back. There is less than a minute to go. It's 5 minutes after 5, and let's take a look here. We've got our watt hours. So earlier I'd said 250. We're a little bit under that. So again, this was a 45-minute meal on high on the pressure setting, and we used roughly, it's probably going to roughly come in around 230 watt hours. So considering this, if I filled it all the way up with electric, I would say it probably would hover around the 900 to 1000 watt hours inside of this particular battery. And again, there's other models out there that are similar. The important part is to find one that you know the 120 volt outlet will run at least, in this case you saw it surge up to 1200. So you can kind of see the setting here. So it says 1500 watts. I'm sorry, 3000 watts surge. So you want to make sure whatever power unit you buy here that you check the settings of your inverter to make sure that it can run at least 1500 to kind of power these devices. Even some coffee makers, some bigger coffee makers also hover around 12 to 1500 watts when they're actually making the coffee. So we're going to go ahead and just release the pressure. Okay, so it's pretty much done. There you go. Looks really good. All right, thanks for watching.